Right, we need to collect information off people. So in our subscriber journey, we made a list of information that we need off people. Now we need to configure Mailchimp to say what information we need for all our products and services that we're going to offer. So now we're going to dive in and we're going to change, we're going to set up the basic Mailchimp form, sign up form, with the information that we need. So what we're going to do is go to audience, and over on the right hand side we're going to go down to sign up forms, and we are going to click on the form builder. Now the form builder is where we configure everything that we need. This is kind of how it looks as standard, as default. This is the information that Mailchimp put in there to be requested, and we can actually use this as a sign up form. Now we have an option of linking to our Facebook page, and then we can have a tab on our Facebook page that shows that we can call a newsletter or sign up form, and then people can then come and join us and sign up on this form. Now this form is a very, very basic form, and we can see how it looks via this link here. What we can do is we can actually use this link to send people to this form, and then they can enter their details and get onto our list. Now, as we've said as we've discovered by going through the clients or the subscriber journey, we might have different offers, we might want different pages, different landing pages, different things where people can sign up from. So this isn't the best method to get people onto your list. This isn't the best form to use. We can't customize it. We can't create extra forms. We have this one kind of built-in form that is very, very basic in its principle and operation. However, the criteria that we set in this form sets the standard for all the criteria wherever we have the form elsewhere. So we could have, we could have forms on Mailchimp landing pages. We can have forms on our WordPress landing page or a website landing page, and whether that's an embedded form or a third-party plugin that connects with Mailchimp. The information that's going to be available to those forms is the information that we set within this form. So we've got to configure this form for our business needs. Now, if we look at the form builder, we've got all these different forms available within Mailchimp. Now, when we design this form, it's on one of them, which is the next module in this course, is designing the form. When we set the design, it affects the design on all of these forms. So when we change the background color, if we add a logo, then every one of these forms will be changed as well. So it sets the standard for the design of the form. So again, we do have to go through that process so that our forms look at least clean and tidy. Because some of these are sort of your reCAPTCHA page. So if you've got your reCAPTCHA turned on, this is the page that will be shown. It will be designed to match this form. The confirmation thank you page and the final welcome email, again, they will take the design on of all of these forms. And you've got all these other forms as well. Your unsubscribe forms, your update profile forms, and other forms such as forward to a friend, forward to a friend's email, about automation landing, survey landing pages, all this sort of stuff. So there's a lot of inbuilt forms and pages that are shown to people when they go through processes. Most of these you won't have to really change, such as the unsubscribe forms I wouldn't bother changing. The update profile forms, again, I really wouldn't bother changing. Other bits, yeah, I wouldn't really bother changing them. There's not much point. It's very rare that people actually use these forms, and it's only for a split second where they go through a process if they do. But the main ones you do need to look at are the subscribe forms, which is this top section. So we will go over those and get them configured. So let's start with our sign up form. As for this, let users pick from email format, plain text or HTML. It's quite old now. So if you allow people to select plain text, then they're literally going to get a very, very basic plain email from you. It's going to look like it's written on a typewriter. It's going to have no changes in font sizes. It's going to have no images. Won't have your logo or anything like that. It'll literally be very plain text with a couple of links available. It'll be so basic. So if you do design nice looking emails, which is like the HTML emails, if people choose plain text, they're going to lose all that. Now, plain text, why do people use that? There's a couple of reasons. Years ago, when data was limited, when people were out and about and they had limited data, a HTML email could use up quite a lot of that data. So people didn't want the data to be eaten up. Plain text used a lot less data. These days, HTML email doesn't use much data in the allowance that people have got these days anyway, so I wouldn't worry about that. Some people like to use plain text emails because certain images or certain email viewers don't show images, and they just like to stick to plain text emails anyway. But again, I really wouldn't worry about that. I'd leave that deselected and just carry on creating your emails. If you want to send a plain text email out, then that's your choice. You can do that. But by letting them subscribe, you might run into issues where you put images in there with links in your images and people can't see them. Or you might, design nice looking emails and people don't get to see that nice design. So I'd leave that unselected. Okay, so let's go over the build it. As you can see here, there's a bunch of fields for collecting email address, first name, last name, people's physical address, their phone number, and their birthday. Now, we've already made a list on our client's journey about what information we need of people. So this is where we decide, what do we actually need, and let's get it in here. Okay, so we've got all these options on the right-hand side of adding things, from adding text boxes, which is what your first name and last name is, adding number boxes where people insert a number, and it expects a numerical input. I'll just get rid of that for now. We can add radio buttons, checkboxes, and drop-downs, which I'll go over the differences in just a second. We can add dates in there for particular dates. So let's say if you're, I don't know, if you're doing something with insurance, you might want to know when somebody's car insurance is due for renewal. So you can ask them for the car insurance renewal date. You can ask them for the birthday if that's required. Again, address, zip code, US only. So I never use that because I'm not in the US. But people can put their zip code in there. Whether it's just a zip code. Again, I don't know why you'd want to use that. Just get rid of it. What else have we got? Phone number. We can ask people to put the phone number in their website. We can ask them to put that in there. So with the things like the phone number in the website, it's looking for a preset sort of input for a certain amount of digits for a phone number and for a certain format for a website. So it needs to see the www and the .co.uk or .com at the end. That's why you've got those. And we can also ask people for an image. Now, with the image box, what it doesn't do is it doesn't give them the option to upload an image from their computer. What they need to do is provide a URL, which is a link to where they have an image online. So they could use their Facebook profile image, for example, and put the URL of that in there, or they could upload an image to something like TimePick and use the URL that's generated from that to put in there. Unfortunately, they don't have the option of actually uploading an image, which would be nice, but it's not an option. Okay, so let's consider what information we need. So very basic. If you're just offering digital services, you might only need email address, first name and last name, and you might not even bother with them and literally just leave it just as email address. Other options you might need, let's say go through them. So when we come to things like radio buttons, checkboxes, and dropdowns, so radio buttons and dropdown are pretty much very similar things. So if we see, we've got this is your radio buttons here. So we've got a list that we can title. We can select things. We can add choices over on the right-hand side. But this allows us to pick one option only, just one option out of the list. And the drop-down is very much the same. You know, with the drop-down list, instead of taking up all this space, it literally takes up almost like one line in the builder. And what it enables us to do is, if we just save that, have a look on the live page, we have a simple first choice, second choice, third choice. Exactly the same as the radio buttons, but taking up less space. Now in this scenario, it's not too bad. We've only got 3 choices. But if you look over in the settings on the right hand side, we do have some predefined choice lists. So, such as gender, which just gives us 3 options, male, female, I prefer not to say. We do have days of the week, which is going to give us 7 options, months of the year, which is going to give us 12 options, and then when we get to US states and world countries, we're going to have a lot more options. So if we had months of the year, you know, we're going to have 12 options taking up a fair bit of space on our list. It's going to take up a fair bit of space. People are going to have to scroll all the way down just to find a choice and select, which is why a drop down would be a better choice. Now, as you can see, if we click on the drop down box and look at the settings related to that, again, we have the same predefined choice lists available to us, and that will create all the options for us, or we can create our own by leaving it blank, and we can add and delete more as we wish. So that is drop downs and radio boxes, pretty much doing the same thing, only one option to be chosen, and we can have that there with our personal options. So we'll just get rid of these. With checkboxes, we have the option of, cancel that. In there for now, save. Now we have the option of picking multiple options. So if you do have something where you want multiple options, let's say you're running a catalog company where you do menswear, women's wear, children's wear, clothing company, then you may have 3 options there of menswear, women's wear, children's wear, and you may ask people themselves on the list, you know, what are they interested in? What do they want to know information on? So if you're running a sale on women's wear in the future, then you can send it to people who are only relevant, who are only interested in women's wear. Yeah, so you can have multiple choices there. So, for example, if somebody is interested in your products and you're running this catalog company, if it's a woman who is a mother, then she may select she's interested in women's wear and children's wear, in which case she's going to get the information that's relevant to her. So that's a good way of finding information off people about what they are interested in. And now with these, with the checkboxes, we can automatically convert this into groups. Now we go over groups in segmentation a bit later in list management, and we do discuss groups. And what it does is it puts people into a subgroup within your list so that you can then target people with that. So this is a good place to start where you can actually make groups. And when you save this, it will actually create these groups in your Mailchimp account, and we'll see that in a bit when we go to it. We're going to leave it like this because it's going to stand out. I know it's gobbledygook, but we will see it in the group section later on. When it comes down to radio boxes, we do have the option to convert it into groups. So if we use the radio boxes or the drop down, then we can turn these into groups as well by selecting convert to groups and confirming that. And it's basically going to turn all these into groups as well. Again, we're going to see this show up in our groups list, and it's going to be called Untitled with these options. So we will see that a little bit later on. Okay, so when we've decided on exactly everything we need to collect information for all our products and services, we can then move them around so they're a bit more sort of user-friendly. So we can simply drag and drop. So we can click, drag and drop, and then we can get the list in a more manageable order: first name, last name, email address. So we're going to say, for this example, we're going to say we've got a sort of physical product that we want to send out at some point, and we do want to have somebody's address. Now at the moment, we can see that this address field is hidden. If we save the form and refresh it, we can't see the address, we can't see the telephone number box. Now, the reason why you want to have some of these hidden is because, like I say, if you do, we can integrate this into our Facebook page, so we can have a sign-up form into our Facebook page. So if we want to get people onto our list from our Facebook page, we can have the tab there, people can subscribe to our list. Now, at that point, we might not necessarily be giving away or selling a product. We are just enticing people onto our list. So what we don't want to ask for at that particular time is somebody's address. It's not relevant to what we're doing in that moment. All we want to do is get people onto our list. So literally all we need is information here: first name, last name, and email address. And people can subscribe to the list and get onto the list. But later on, we do want the address, and we do want somebody's phone number, and anything else you want later on, we can add it to here, and we can make it hidden. Now, as you can see, when we do select on a field, we get the field settings over on the right-hand side, and we can change between going to add a field and field settings by the tabs on the top. So as we can see, the first name field type is text. The label, which is here, is described here. We create a field tag. So for example, when we create an email later on, we can write at the very beginning of the email, "Hi, F name, how are you doing?" And then when we send this out, if John Smith has filled in this form, then it will say, "Hi John, how are you doing?" And if we put in, as we can see in the last name, we've got this field tag of L name. So if we create our email and we put "Hi, F name, L name, how are you doing?" Then when it goes out to John Smith, it'll say, "Hi John Smith, how are you doing?" So what it will do is it'll populate data using these field tags with the relevant data to the individual subscriber. So we can have it go out and be a bit more personalized. Some other settings that we've got here is the required field. So basically at the moment, when people sign up for this form, it's optional whether they complete the first name or last name field. We can make that required there, like so. Field visibility is visible or hidden. As we can see, the address one is set to hidden and the last name is set to visible. So any fields that we've got that are for later services, add them in there, make them hidden, and they are available then for our use, but they're not going to show up where they are not, where it's not relevant, where you are going to want to use this form for very, very basic reasons. We can enter some help text, so that basically will pop up a little box underneath to give them a little bit more information about what to put in there. So for example, if you were doing a website, you could have a help text in there saying something like, don't forget to type, don't forget to add www. or http, something like that, and we save the field. And you can see when people go to enter their website details, there's the help text that comes up. Don't forget to add HTTP. So that's what the help text is for. And the default merge tag value. So if somebody comes to this form and doesn't fill in their first name, if it's not a required field, and they leave that blank, then it's when they submit it, it's going to automatically add John to that. So we can use, you'll see us use hidden text boxes a little bit later on with the default merge tag on our forms, and you'll see how we use that to automatically put some sort of information in for when people request something. We want to decide the information that goes in, so we create a hidden field and put some merge tag values in. So when people do sign up, it's automatically putting a default merge tag value in for something, and it's giving us some more information available. But we'll see that later on in the course. But just to understand now that if somebody fills in this form and leaves their first name blank, then it's going to automatically populate that information with the name John, because we've decided on the default value for the merge tag for that form. Okay, so build your form, put the criteria in that you need, put the information in that you need, make it hidden for anything that's not relevant for a very, very basic sign-up form, and then that is the configuration pretty much complete. We'll go over the design in the next video just to keep this training video a little bit shorter.